This is Empty the Bench with Tom Albano.
All of these MMA fighters, we have these NFL athletes are willing to risk their bodies, basically, put their bodies on the line for our entertainment, but they're scared of a little itty bitty needle.
Nick Morgasen.
When you're a public figure whether it's all positive, it's all negative, or it's neutral. It doesn't matter. You don't get to choose whether you get to be a public figure for certain parts of a situation.
And Nick Fodera.
Are you really willing to take that chance? I know you really don't care about your reporters, otherwise you pay them, but still, do you really want them to get sick?
Empty the Bench starts now.
You don't get drunk, go to the top of a cliff, and listen to the guy who says, "Jump, you can fly!"
Welcome to episode 101 of Empty the Bench. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I can't take the two of you seriously flapping your arms like that.
Hi, welcome to episode 101 of Empty the Bench. Good start.
We just flew in, and boy, are our arms tired.
Tom Albano, Nick Fodera, Nick Morgasen here for all the usual hijinks and terrible jokes that you come to expect with this show.
Well, let's put it this way. These are the only jokes you're going to get for quite a while because we have COVID is the big storyline this week.
Yeah, let's take a look at our stories. 1 COVID story, 2 COVID story, 3 COVID story, 4. Well, maybe a 4. 5 COVID story, 6 COVID.
You sound. Wait a minute. You sound like you're counting like that nursery rhyme for the kids, like the 5 little monkeys jumping on.
That's the point of the joke. Make sure to hit like and subscribe to Empty the Bench here on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to hit that notification bell and make sure to subscribe to all videos. That way you are the first to know when we're going live or when we've uploaded something. Like Nick had alluded to before, we've got a bunch of COVID stories we got to talk about. We also are going to talk about the Mets being the Mets, and what a week from hell they have had.
Well, before we get to the Mets, there was a big story that happened yesterday, and if you can throw that up there, Tom, Naomi Osaka taking a break from playing, and I showed the clip to the guys. It was too long to show, but you guys kind of got the gist, and the whole rest of the world got the gist that Naomi Osaka needs some help. And we're not saying this is a bad thing, but she needs help.
Yes, I believe, because usually when you say, "Oh, get help," it's usually in a mocking sense, and you really don't want to do that to Naomi Osaka because the poor woman's been bullied enough. But seriously, in these kinds of situations, tennis really does take a distant second. So I really don't have a problem with her, stepping away and not knowing when she's going to compete again because A, she doesn't need it, and B, she really does seem like she's dealing with a lot of crap, and I mean, you don't need that kind of abuse.
It's a rough situation, and she's 23 years old. She's made millions of dollars already. She's the top female athlete in the world of tennis, and now she basically competed in one match at the French Open. She didn't want to talk to the media. They gave her crap for doing that. And then they said, if you don't talk to the media, we're going to fine you. Well, Nike and other companies said, no, we're not allowing that. And then she basically didn't compete at Wimbledon. And now she goes out in the 3rd round at the U.S. Open. And she basically says, I'm not enjoying my time playing tennis right now.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of media. We're trained in media stuff. We're trained to do that. I mean, some of us work in it, but in certain cases, I mean, especially in this case, media can be a bunch of vultures, and I really don't think they cared anything about what she had to say. They were just waiting for her to stop speaking.
Where in this segment, though, did the media go too far? Like, I remember the French Open stuff, and Yeah, that was bad. Although I think the French Open people had a lot more of guilt on that than the media. But where exactly did the media play a role in this? I don't think any of them expected her to announce that she was taking a break.
I should rephrase. It was the PR. It was the PR person that had kind of hurried her along before she was finished speaking.
So what happened is, like I said, when she went to do the media after winning the first match, she has already had problems. Like I shouldn't say problems. She's shy with the media. She doesn't like talking to the media, and that's a tough thing. You've said that in the fighter world, UFC, MMA world, some of them don't like talking to the media. It's hard.
Right. Unfortunately, I'm also on the media side of things, and on the media side of things, sometimes you don't get the opportunity to talk to these athletes often. So that's why we have the conferences.
But if those kinds of people, had a choice about whether they could talk to you, they would not.
Right.
They would rather not.
Actually, I disagree with that. It's not that they don't want to talk to them. The media has such a bad rap, and Tom, you get this too, I would hope, that when the media has such a bad rap, these athletes don't want to talk to the media because they're afraid of their reputations being affected.
Mm-hmm.
So someone like Naomi Osaka, who's quiet, and the media's made that quite clear that she's quiet, and then they go and they attack her with questions. And in the original press conference, I forgot who the guy's name was, but he asked like some inappropriate question, and it got her upset. She walked out, and that started a whole thing. It was all over the media, locally, internationally, and then last night, she's sitting there. No one's doing anything. And I said this to Nick before we came on here. The PR person tried to shut it down as she was talking. And the media gets a bad rap because they don't let the athletes speak. Let her speak.
And that's what I was referring to before. But in terms of where we go from here, I mean, tennis professionally will survive without her.
Yes, tennis will survive without her, but I think tennis still needs Naomi Osaka more than Naomi Osaka needs tennis. And again, this goes back to something I had told you guys. This might have been at a pre-show meeting. I don't know if I've said it on the air, but the U.S. Open, yeah, such a star-studded event. I mean, the Williams sisters aren't competing. Naomi Osaka's now out. Federer playing?
Rodgers didn't compete. Nadal didn't compete. There's a bunch of people.
They're recovering from surgery. One of them is recovering from surgery.
Roger had surgery. He was supposed to compete at the U.S. Open. Actually, did not make it through the rehab, so he had to go have another surgery. So he was going to be out probably anyway. So It's pretty much Djokovic on the men's side, and now it's pretty much up for grabs on the women's side. But
on the women's side, okay, now I remember why I saw Rodgers on here, because Ashley Barty, who's the number one on the women's side, just got upset by Shelby Rogers. So congratulations, tennis. What stars do you have competing in this very prestigious tournament here in New York?
The one, you know what? I'm actually happy about that because that's the only American left on the women's side of the draw. But at the same time,
I'd say not my point. My point is, where are your stars? You got to create new stars now.
I mean, you still have Simone Halep.
They've needed to for a couple of years. You're not going to be able to constantly draw upon the tried and trues because they're going to have injuries. They're going to be dealing with mental issues.
I'd say not so much about Naomi Osaka because she's, as much as she has the mental issues, she's still young. She's got plenty of career to go if she still wants to compete. But like the Williams sisters, they've been competing for over 20 years. Federer's a 20-year plus pro. Nadal's 20 plus years. The time is running out for some of these athletes.
Right. And at the same time, like, even though I'm going to get flack for saying this, I'm going to say it anyway. The Williams sisters are way past their prime at this point. And Serena still competes, but she's not winning at the clip that she used to win. Venus, now she's had immunodeficiency disorder for a very long time.
My point wasn't that they're past their prime. My point was when these stars disappear. I mean, look at golf.
We're going to need to see what you have in your minor league system, to borrow baseball parlance.
I was just going to say that, Tom, and actually I'm glad you brought that name up. Coco Gauff is the next big star in U.S. tennis, and I think she's in high school or college. Like, she's really young.
Nick, I said golf, not golf. Oh, I get your point. I said, look at golf. I mean, now that Tiger Woods is barely playing anymore, Mickelson's not around. I mean, you got Spieth, McIlroy, but they don't have that star power that those two have had.
Okay, let me say that again. Let me say that again. Coco Gauff is the next up-and-coming star on the female side for tennis, is what I thought you were saying.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, still a valid point.
But
Still a very valid point.
But at the same point, Naomi needs to go get help. She's 23 years old. She's dealing with real-life problems at the age of 23 already. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but she needs to go get help because has all the pressure on her shoulders.
And it shouldn't be there.
Right. Well, I was going to say, the sad part is she has, like she could stop if you wanted. Like you said, Nick, she has made $50 million by this young age already. But if she wanted to, she's got a long career ahead of her. If she's able to work herself out and be able to handle these, athlete problems, athlete issues better and, get the training to help with that, her popularity and her skill set, the sky is the limit. And
we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, or probably a month ago, and now it seems so long ago, when people gave her crap for being on the covers of the magazine. Do you remember that whole story? And people were saying, you can't be on the magazine, blah, 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 offensive. But leave her alone. Just stop. She's 23 years old. She's a successful woman in business, succeeding. Leave her alone.
Exactly.
Let's have a little fun now, guys. So, Mets gonna Mets, I think, is an appropriate headline. I know we use that expression a lot, but in this case, Mets really gonna Mets. So, Javy Baez, of course, is the big trade deadline acquisition for the Mets, looking to get some needed help as they've, over the last month or so, have spectacularly collapsed out of the lead in the NL East. And
waited like a balloon a couple days past the birthday party.
Exactly. So the reason Nick has given the thumbs down is because, well, Javy Baez, guys, this is New York.
Yeah.
He played like crap. What happens when you play like crap? You got booed.
I'll tell you what happens when you play like crap. You get called out.
So Javy Baez, I guess, didn't like that, and he gets a big hit during a recent game, and he gives the thumbs down out towards the towards the audience.
And it's not like in 2017 when the Yankees started doing it as like.
Let me put the comparison. Since you're going to bring it up, let me put the comparison now. So in 2017, we have this infamous clip. The Yankees had to play a game at Citi Field for reasons I forget. Yeah. And we have one shot of after a Yankee home run. We have one Met fan, a solo Met fan in the crowd, doing this to the camera. And it just becomes a meme, and it becomes a celebration, a rally cry for that 2017.
You're talking about the old man, right?
The old man with the thumbs down.
Todd Frazier picked it up.
Right. Meanwhile, 4 years later, the Javy Baez does the thumbs down thing, and it becomes
his way of booing them.
Yeah, a way of booing the fans, which he walks back, but you can't put that back in the jar.
Yeah,
you're leaving out one wrinkle. Francisco Lindor did it also.
Yes,
he did. Yes, he did. So, ladies and gentlemen, I referred to this when I did my ATV Sports Minute, and this is just. Not only is this weird, but I didn't actually complete the thought, which is this is one of the dumbest things I've seen the Mets do. And I've been watching the Mets for as long as I've been watching the Yankees, which is most of my life. So every time you get fans against athletes and the athletes take it way too seriously, bad things do tend to happen. Because, look, this is New York. Aaron Judge gets booed. Giancarlo Stanton gets booed. I'm sure Mike Trout gets booed. Well, you really think they care?
Well, you mentioned New York. You mentioned New York and booing and fans versus athletes and it going like all sorts of bad levels. I can't help but think of the mid-2000s when A-Rod was a terrible postseason performer to the point where I think it was either 06 or 07. Torrey batted him 8th in the lineup.
No, ninth.
No, he batted him 8th.
No, I thought he batted him all the way down the lineup at 9th.
I remember 8. I don't remember 9. I remember 8.
Pretty sure.
Right, but towards the bottom of the lineup, A-Rod is always a 2, 3, 4 hitter.
Yeah, he's your 2, 3, or 4 hole hitter.
All right, we're putting.
He took it in stride. He's like, I'm playing bad.
But you remember still the toxic nature between A-Rod, the Yankees, and the fans at that.
All right, we're putting lipstick on a pig at this point. But the way I would put this is the Mets are in such a situation, and I heard a lot of local New York sports radio calling for Javy Baez's head, which, can we just say it now, that Javy Baez has just earned his ticket out of New York at this point?
Well, I'm going to say this.
Come back. Yeah, he wasn't going to come back.
Well, I'm going to say this. So now Javy Baez, for full context, he's a free agent at the end of the year. If now, it's Steve Cohen. Maybe the Mets are going to pay him a crap ton of money. But if he somehow comes back, he's got to work on his attitude, or he ain't going to survive New York.
You know what? I'll say one thing. And I think this is the perfect way to bring this new thing out. What do we all think of Javy Baez in a Mets uniform?
I hate you. Get the out of here.
So, thank you, Dr. Phil.
That's how Mets fans feel.
Well, then it goes to a whole nother level a few days later.
They're weak from hell descends even further. And again, as I mentioned in my ETB Sports Minute, interim GM Zack Scott coming home from a party at Steve Cohen's house, gets arrested for DWI. In fact, he was asleep in the car, and the cops had to knock on the window.
He was pulled over. He was pulled over. And the worst part is, he refused a breathalyzer test.
And that's always a bad sign.
Which is fun fact in terms of like legal, is basically an automatic arrest.
It is an automatic arrest because you're hiding something essentially.
Yeah, it's like you're basically saying, I did it. Take me away.
You know what, Zack Scott? No more.
First of all, he's only the... Let's break this down.
The Mets are a walking circus!
Again, they were a walking... The only reason he has the job is because the guy that Sandy Alderson vouched for ended up showing pictures of his genitals.
Oh, Jared Porter. Jared Porter.
The Mets.
Jared Porter.
Don't make me do it again. I'm going to do it again. The Mets are a disgraceful organization that have no clue what their direction is. They need to blow this whole organization up, this roster up. You have a manager who's never managed above single A?
I know. I tell you what the Mets need to do, and it's something we have all said. So we've had Jared Porter, we've had Zack Scott now, and now over in Los Angeles, we had the whole Mickey Callaway thing. It's a reflection. Now Steve Cohen is a new owner. This is his first year as the ownership, but there is still a remnant of the old guard that's still around and connected to all three hirings. And who is that, gentlemen?
Sandy friggin' Alderson.
Sandy's got to take this on the chin. He's got to take
really needs to look over his
No, I'm done. Cohen's got to fire him. Cohen has to fire Sandy.
Cohen should have fired him yesterday.
How do you keep making these mistakes with the GMs that you
know why? Because I could say I used to work for a billionaire owner who had no idea how to run his organization, but that's a whole different story for another day. But I'll say that when a billionaire runs an organization and they pass off the work to other people because they're too freaking lazy to do it themselves, then you get organized chaos. Organized chaos.
I think they thrive on it. I think they actually like it when things. I don't understand why you would get off on being a tire fire, but here we are.
But I love it. I love when basically Zack Scott said, or the cop said to Zack Scott, "Will you take a breathalyzer test?" No.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Well, in this case, it should be hiding, not lying.
Yeah. Why you hiding?
You're hiding something. You might as well just come out and say I'm drunk. And the worst part that people are leaving out to that story, he was at a charity event at Steve Cohen's house.
You'd think he'd be smarter when being at the party of the guy who basically signed your check.
And by the way,
mess.
And by the way, Steve Cohen, I have an idea for you. Get off of Twitter. as Nick would say, stop with your itchy Twitter fingers and go run your organization. Oh, wait, you're too busy with your financial chaos because you're running all these stocks into the ground like digging a Great Wall of China. Instead, why don't you actually go and run your organization like a real organization? Oh, wait, that's too tough.
All right, gentlemen, let's have a little flurry. Let's go through these stories because we have a lot to get through. It's time for COVID chaos, as I call it.
Oh,
So
we can't even be whimsical and spell it with a K, can we?
Nope.
Wait a minute, I'll make it whimsical for you.
There's your whimsy.
It begins staying MLB with Xander Bogaerts. So Xander Bogaerts is playing in the middle of a Red Sox game because obviously he's the starting shortstop. He gets pulled in the second inning. And why is that? Because a COVID test that he took recently came back during the game, and it came back positive.
Now, if you're experiencing a feeling of deja vu right now, you're not alone because this has happened before. He basically got Justin Turnered, where the result came back. Apparently, they used FedEx to get these test results back, and apparently it didn't get there overnight. So they did it. They
Wait,
during the game.
Wait, does that mean MLB gets a discount the next time they use FedEx because it was late?
I mean, this is why you use UPS. What can Brown do for you?
It should be funny, but the fact that this has happened 2 years in a row now.
All I could say is baseball.
You suck.
You know what? Actually, you know what? It's not baseball that sucks. It's Rob Manfred that sucks. Okay, this is going to be a Rob Manfred rant again, so I might as well just get it out of the way.
How is it? Why is the system not set up that the results should be coming in before the game and not during the game? I don't get
Tom,
it.
when you and I came on after the Dodgers won the World Series and Justin Turner was whisked off into the locker room with COVID positive,
and then he comes back out with
no, he refused. He said, "I'm not staying in the locker room. I want to be with my team."
Right. And then now, thankfully, a situation like that didn't happen here, as far as we know. Thankfully, but still, how is this system? It's the results should be coming in before the game and not in the middle of the first.
You know why?
If you have a pending test, you should not be playing.
We found out that they're doing the tests too close to the start of the game, too close to game time. Do them 3 to 4 hours before the game.
I was going to say, why are you not doing them first thing in the morning then?
Because I guess the results, if it's a rapid, it could change because it's only a 15-minute test. I'm guessing.
Again, but that would require brain power, and the MLB does not have that.
You're expecting, wait a minute.
Very large supply.
You're expecting Rob Manfred to use brain power?
No.
Heaven forbid we have to use our brains.
You know what? Yeah. I'd rather have the IBM computer Watson being the commissioner of Major League Baseball than Rob Manfred. You know what? I'd rather a monkey be commissioner of Major League Baseball than Rob Manfred. You know what? I'd rather have a rock be the commissioner than Rob Manfred. Let's have a game. Let's go find every inanimate object that we can find and see if it makes a better commissioner.
The next baseball commissioner.
You know how? Wait, who?
I spy with my little eye the next baseball.
You know what? You know how we made a joke that Tom was going to start interviewing a fire hydrant? We were going to do it as a podcast. We should, like I said, we should go find every inanimate object, interview them during a podcast, and by the end, after we do like 100 interviews, we'll pick the next inanimate object to be the commissioner of Major League Baseball.
I nominate this bottle of water to be the next commissioner of baseball.
I nominate this mason jar to be the next commissioner of Major League Baseball.
Yes, I'd like you to meet the new commissioner.
And we just got banned from YouTube. Congratulations, everybody. We're turning the show into Whose Line Is It Anyway, it seems.
Yes!
Yes.
All right, so let's go to Bob Boone now. So Bob Boone and the Nationals end up parting ways, and this is the first known case where a team has decided to basically dismiss a member of its staff by way of COVID vaccine refusal. And yes, this is Bob Boone, the father of Aaron Boone, the current Yankee manager and former MLB player, and fellow former MLB player Brett Boone.
Let me clear up. It's not that they released him. He walked away.
He walked away.
He
well,
walked
part ways. Part ways. Is...
Right, but he said in a statement, You're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to tell me to get a vaccine. I'm tinfoil hat man. I'm going to decide to. You're not going to fire me. I quit.
Which is quite weird when you consider that Aaron supposedly got the vaccine. He said he got the vaccine back in March.
Wait, an actual public figure in the sports world admitting they got a vaccine?
He did because he has a heart condition.
No, but I'm saying I'm surprised that someone in the world of sports admitted they got a vaccine.
Then Aaron Boone is a bigger face, bigger promoter of the COVID vaccine than, say, DeAndre Hopkins or LeBron James. That's kind of sad. Sad.
Look, there's only one way to fix this.
All I'm going to say is
we've been beating around the bush for this for weeks. But you know what? Let's just come right out and say it. You really need to mandate the vaccine at this point.
They're private organizations. This professional sports are private organizations. They can mandate it.
They can do whatever they want. They can, but they can mandate anything they want, and it's not a violation of your freedom or your rights. You want to play baseball? You want to be involved in baseball in any capacity? Go get the shot.
And by the way, I think was it the Nationals and the Orioles? I think were the two teams that are now mandating vaccines for everybody in their organization. That's what I read.
National, I think it was the National and the Phillies too.
I just wanted on the record, by the way, Tom. You said it, not me.
What?
You said LeBron James, not me.
Oh no, but my point is, you had LeBron James, who has refused to say whether he got the vaccine or not. We have several figures in the NFL, like, you know, I say their names again, but Cole Beasley and DeAndre Hopkins, who have openly refused to get the vaccine. The fact that Aaron Boone, is a manager of New York Yankees. The New York Yankees are one of the biggest, probably the biggest professional sports team in America, if not the world. But still, the fact that it is the retired former player, you know, now the current manager, who isn't exactly a popular figure, and not a popular figure current player in their league, like a LeBron, like a DeAndre, like, that's kind of sad. We need somebody. You know, we need an athlete of popularity, like kind of those figures.
That's the problem.
No athlete seems to be willing to do that.
The problem is the athletes are not willing to say, oh, wait, maybe if I take the initiative, then maybe, oh, wait, the athlete does it, I'll go do it too. And it causes a trickle-down effect.
Or they want people to think they're vaccinated when they aren't, actually.
But still, as long as you have somebody promoting the vaccine, you know, a popular thing, it can help you.
Yeah, it can help. Yeah, it absolutely can help.
And speaking,
I was just going to say
your point.
I was going to say one more thing. I know, I have to say this for the millionth time. We're not a COVID show. We're not promoting it politically. We're not telling you what to do. Go get a vaccine, because there's now new mutations of the vaccine that are coming as well.
So speaking of mandating vaccine and private sports leagues. So the NBA is taking the direction of the NFL in that they are not going to mandate it, but if you're not vaccinated, we are going to make your life a living hell. And now, considering the local markets with some mandates in terms of the Knicks and the Nets and the Warriors, in which in their state to enter the arena, you must be fully vaccinated. Unvaccinated players in the NBA will not be allowed to play or practice in the home arenas unless they have a medical or religious exemption. They are not going to be allowed to play or practice in the home arenas. And there is some more, which I wasn't able to get up here because otherwise this little graphic here would be way, way too big. But I have here a screenshot of, I think this was a SportsCenter broadcast where they listed more of the new guidelines. So, unvaccinated NBA players also may be required to sit away from teammates on flights and buses when on the road. They cannot sit next to vaccinated players at team meals and must comply with social distancing. They must undergo testing on game days and practice days, possibly twice on game days. and mandatory 7-day quarantine if they are deemed close contact to a positive test. Not if they get a positive test, if they are even deemed close contact.
Well, right. That's the NBA's been doing that for the last season.
But
yeah.
Wouldn't it be easier to just get the vaccine?
How about
Just
how
do
about
that.
can we stop like going in between both sides? Either mandate it or don't. This is a whole. You know what this is? This is basically pandering to the common denominator of the star athlete. That's what this is.
No, you're giving them a way out.
Stop with the vaccine nonsense. Just go get it. What are you? It's not. It's like Nick said.
Look,
It's like wait. Nick, it's like you said. There's no microchips. We're not being traced. We're not tinfoil hatting. We're trying to save ourselves from dying.
a government that can't even respond to a hurricane properly. You really think they can track you? Your phone does that. My Alexa can't even hear me when I'm 10 feet away from it. You really think they're tracking me? Besides, look, and we should add as a caveat, we're not, of course, doing this. We're not, of course, saying this or disparaging people who medically cannot get the vaccine, because there are people who have medical conditions in which vaccination would not help or would do more harm than good, especially myocarditis. But again, we're not talking about that. We're talking about people who willingly refuse.
I'm going to get hell for this. I even think the religious exemption is a joke.
It is a joke. And you know what? We're going to get flack for this. I don't give a crap. But stop with the religious exemption. That's just an excuse so that you don't have to go get it. You can go out unvaccinated. Just stop.
You got to concern yourself. You got to have concerns about your health.
Concerns about others' health.
And others' health, too. Right.
Because the vaccine is more to protect against other people than actually yourself.
All right, and we're going to move on to the NFL stories. Obviously, Cam Newton is the bigger one, but since we're staying on the COVID subject, I think we should talk about the one that is certainly COVID first. So the NFLPA is investigating Urban Meyer and the Jaguars because reportedly Urban Meyer had said something along the lines of vaccine status was a factor in some of their decisions for the 53-man rosters.
Now, I understand what he means. If he believes if you're not, like Nick said, if you're unvaccinated, you shouldn't be allowed to play, in my opinion. So I understand what he's saying in theory, but
if you wanted the shield off your ass, you really shouldn't have said anything.
Urban Meyer just put himself in the hot seat.
Well, let me make a correction. It's not the shield in this case. This is the NFLPA.
Well, the NFL.
And again, the Players Association and the players, Roger Goodell and the Shield that basically are going to be giving hell to those who are not unvaccinated, but their players are just, for some reason, in major rebellion.
But and you know what? Urban Meyer, in theory, is right. If they're unvaccinated, it's not safe. But you can't go out in public in an interview and say, we cut the players due to not being vaccinated. That's not your call, because the NFLPA is going to get on your ass for saying something like that.
Now, if you're going to criticize the NFL for something, it's that maybe Urban Meyer would have that protection if the NFL had mandated the vaccine by way of being a private business.
This is every league.
Right, I was going to say, but you can't just solely follow Roger Goodell when none of the leagues have done that.
But what is it we're lacking here? What is it we keep talking about a lack of? Brain power!
I was going to say balls.
Brain power and balls. Brain balls.
We're talking about a commissioner that only cares about the bottom line. You really think he's going to care about the vaccination numbers?
It's kind of sad when Roger Goodell and Gary Bettman have been doing a better job in terms of the COVID protocols.
When they have the moral high ground, you don't understand what an accomplishment that is. For those of us who've been watching the NHL for 20 years, believe me, you know.
And actually, if you saw the NHL news, besides the Olympics, which we didn't have time to get to in this episode, but the NHL is allowing media members in the locker room.
And the NHL players are going to be allowed to go over to the Olympics again in 2022, which sounds good, although no, but Bettman has the right and to say, hey, if the COVID situation over where the Olympics are, because it's in Asia again, I believe in China this time, if it's bad again and it's going to be like a hellhole like the Tokyo Games were, Bettman's basically saying, I have a right to pull my guys.
which I'm okay with, as long as you give them the option
Right.
with.
I think Bettman has made the correct call on all avenues, surprisingly.
Because he's going to protect the bottom line of the league. That's understandable at
He's going
that
to protect
point.
the integrity of the league.
Well, I think everything is business. Obviously the integrity is important, but business is what keeps him working and his job.
And I'll just say this with the NFL, because we're on the topic now. It's kind of sad because we know how much of a hellhole the NFL has been over the last few years in terms of players, fighting for, say, the rights of players, to make the NFL, to give the players a bigger voice in terms of just about everything. And then what do the players do? Basically say, fuck you, we're not going to get the vaccine. We care about ourselves. It's kind of sad.
Precisely. You know why? You know why? Because the NFL players have been revolting for many years, and now they're finally saying, "Hey, Roger, F you."
But I'm saying a lot of people have had their side. When you think about the Kaepernick and the racism things that they want to speak out on, they want to have bigger identities and stuff. And then it comes a time of public crisis, and what are the players doing? The players are basically saying, "No, let me correct it. Not every player, but there is a significant amount who are saying, basically, we're not going to talk about the vaccine. We're not going to promote it. We're not going to get it." It's sad.
So you're talking about selective attention, basically, is what you're talking about.
Basically,
they're being selective. Oh, I want my voice to be heard about racism, but I don't want my voice to be heard about COVID. You can't pick. It's not an ice cream shop. You can't go and pick a flavor and decide, I want to eat this. It's not the same thing. This is not a taste test. This is a public or private league who has a PR nightmare that they're dealing with.
31 flavors of misery.
And you know what?
That's the slogan of COVID in sports.
And you know what? It's all about the what? Money!
Yeah. Because why wouldn't it be? All right, let's talk about Cam. So, guys, Cam Newton, in probably the most shocking cut of this last round of NFL cuts, is gone from the Patriots. And Mac Jones has won the QB battle, and Mac Jones is going to be starting for that team.
I need to say one interesting thing about this. So, Urban Meyer gets flack for saying that he cut his players from being unvaccinated. Did you hear Belichick, as quiet as he possibly could, say that he's probably unvaccinated, so we kind of cut him, but that kind of got swept under the rug?
No, Belichick basically pulled I'm going to walk the narrow line, and that, Belichick is saying that it didn't have anything to do. So Cam Newton, this story with Cam Newton the last couple of weeks has been absolutely weird in that, if you remember last week, he was in protocols for what was called a misunderstanding of rules, and that technically Belichick says that Newton didn't violate team rules, but maybe that means he violated league COVID rules.
It was an outside approved doctor's appointment,
but it didn't have anything to do with COVID.
Right, but
you know what they're saying?
It was an outside doctor's appointment approved by the Patriots.
And basically, Belichick is saying that he's not saying if it was related to COVID or not, this whole thing.
Wait a minute. When someone says that it's not related to COVID, that's like saying, well, he didn't lie. Well, you're basically hiding the fact that something happened.
Something might have happened, because what if this was a normal doctor's appointment, but because he went to an unapproved doctor? Okay, but if that's the case, then why did the Patriots approve it?
It didn't not have nothing to do with it.
I'm confused by all this.
Because it is confusing.
Look what organization we're talking about here.
Yeah, yes. Again, Belichick gets off on confusing people and getting away with it. But if we're going to take him at his word and say that this had nothing to do with COVID, is it really about what he did in this preseason? Because I don't think he played this preseason, right?
Yeah, Cam didn't play horribly, but I guess Belichick believes in Mac Jones, and it goes back to what we were saying the season before Mac Jones was even a thought. Is Belichick going to bring in another rookie quarterback? In this case, he is, because he believes he can make another Tom Brady.
look, and people have been saying Mac Jones he's actually the good.
And I believe in Mac Jones. Would I say he's the next?
Well, I've been hearing people say that. I heard people say that about Sam Darnold, and look how that happened.
Well, but am I going to say that Mac Jones is the next Tom Brady? Hell no.
No, nobody's Tom.
Can
Brady.
we like?
I know, but I'm saying, like, even Trevor Lawrence got Tom Brady comparisons. Well, during the time he got
Trevor Lawrence will be lucky if he can stay up on his own 2 feet. Because wait a minute, because his O-line is more Swiss cheese than the Giants' O-line.
It's the Patriots. Anybody you bring in is going to be compared to Tom Brady. That's the curse of it. And the blessing. Really.
So we have some fun stuff we got to get to in terms of football. So let's end it just with Cam Newton. So what is next for Mr. Newton?
He's going to be a backup.
I have a feeling there's going to be a quarterback opening, especially in San Francisco, because I don't know if Jimmy's body is going to hold up. So
but they got Trey Lance.
Yeah, you have Trey Lance. It doesn't that's going to happen one way or the other. Just like Justin Fields is going to happen in Chicago. I mean, like,
well, here's the whole thing about Cam Newton. So, guys, do you remember around the time? It was like 2017, 2018. It's funny I brought up Kaepernick before when Diddy was rumored to be purchasing the Panthers.
Yeah.
Which Cam Newton was the lead quarterback at the time. And Diddy had openly talked about bringing in Colin Kaepernick if he had done such a thing. And I said, Cam Newton will request a trade out of there so quickly. Because we have talked about this for a little while in terms of Cam Newton and his unsteady playing future. Cam Newton will always refuse to be a backup. Cam Newton believes that he can be the star no matter where he goes. Now, Cam Newton is saying that, but reality is he's been in this league. What? He was wasn't he drafted in 2011? He was the first pick or something like that in 2011.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So it's been a decade, and he's had a little of. He had the incredible comeback season, helping lead the Panthers to, I think it was a 7-1 division win record and into the playoffs. The next year, MVP of the league, led his team to the Super Bowl. But the last several years, have been kind of injury prone.
Mediocre.
And a couple of mediocre seasons. And maybe Cam Newton, as much as he doesn't want to admit it, maybe Cam Newton is slipping away. Maybe Cam Newton is a little more towards the end of his career.
To be quite honest, he's going to be a backup for the rest of his career. That's just what's going to happen.
And if he's going to refuse that, maybe we'll never see Cam Newton hit the football field again.
I mean, that's an interesting point, but I
don't know if I'd agree with that because I do think he's got more ahead of him than he does behind him.
Well, Nick, I want to believe, like you had just said, that at some point during the season, a quarterback is going to go down and the team is going to go scrambling, and
also
we'll get Cam Newton. Right, COVID. Well, he would have to sit out, I think, 5 days after he signed because of COVID protocols.
But I'm just saying, you like guys like Carson Wentz and Kirk Cousins who refuse to get the vaccine go down.
Right, and there could be openings there. I hate to put this one out there as Giants fans, but if Danny Jones has a setback, ends up getting traded, and the Giants, in this next quarterback class sucks, maybe the Giants need a veteran quarterback or any team like
have him on the Giants.
And Cam Newton comes in for a season or two until the Giants find their next franchise quarterback. And I'm not just talking about this to the Giants. It could apply to any team that is bottoming out. I mean, look at Houston. Houston's going to be going with Tyrod Taylor as its starting quarterback.
God, you know what? I'm going to refrain from saying anything about Deshaun Watson because I've been blocked and censored. So I'm just going to stop talking about him at this point.
Yeah, just going to skedaddle past that line.
All right. One note, by the way, about week one. Obviously, we're not doing week one predictions right now. We're going to do one for the Thursday night season opening game. But the Saints-Packers game scheduled to be the big, week one national game of the week in the 4:25 time slot. Obviously not today, but 1 week from now. That game has been moved to Jacksonville, obviously due to Hurricane Ida. So the Superdome is not going to be ready. So I think the first couple of home games for the Saints are not going to be played in New Orleans, at least. And
you really want to help you, but you really want to help people? 100% of the gate revenues goes to Hurricane Ida relief.
They said the first 4 weeks. I think they had their first 4 weeks at home, if I'm not mistaken.
The Saints have 4 weeks at home? That would be too weird of an NFL
Yeah,
schedule.
that would be too weird.
I mean, I'll look it up, but I thought I read that they have quite a few games at home. Oh wait, I have it right here.
Okay. Regardless, thoughts go to anybody out there, to anybody who's been affected by Hurricane Ida, and I mean that's down in New Orleans. I mean, even up here in the Northeast, we were all expecting that we were just going to get the remnants. No, we got the storm.
We got floods.
Yeah, all over here in New York. So thoughts go to anybody who's been affected by this hurricane. All right, so we're gonna move on now, guys, to just give me, like we went over division winners and we went over division winners and some interesting takes over the last couple of weeks, key storylines. But give me any hot takes that you have for this season, any predictions that you have.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do with my hot takes and my predictions. I am not going to be negative with my hot takes and predictions. I'm going to say that Danny Jones is going to improve. He's going to show that he can be the guy. It's improvement, but it's not exactly 100%.
I mean, he's got opportunities. I mean, he's got a hell of a lot of mouths to feed right now when you think about Shepard's back, Slayton's back. They got Kenny Galladay over from Detroit. They drafted Kadarius Toney. Evan Engram's still around. John Ross, I think, is out for the first few weeks, and then he'll be here once he comes off the PUP. There's quite a few mouths to feed, and he's got a major opportunity. And I stand by my take. I stand by what I said last week. Maybe Dave Gettleman is on his last legs as GM. Maybe Saquon Barkley has to prove he has a healthy season, like the two of you have said. But I have said, this team can ride or die by the arm of Danny Jones.
I'm saying good things are possible. I mean, isn't it fun to hope, though?
It is. And the sad part is, even if the Giants finish 500, you know what? That could win this division.
Yeah. See, good things can happen. See, happy.
All right. I'll go fire on my hot take. I warned you guys I was going to say this, and I said I believe in Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to win Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Because here's why I say that. Because it should be Justin Fields or Trey Lance, but for whatever reason, their teams are basically giving them the middle finger and are not going to be starting them. More curiously, in Chicago, where Andy Dalton is the starter, and freaking Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy is not going to survive after this season. You could throw that in the takes as well. The Chicago is going to stumble.
Somebody write that down.
Chicago is going to stumble, and Nagy's going to be on his way out unless Justin Fields gets in there sooner rather than later.
Exactly.
Let's see. What are my hot takes? This is tough. Well, it's not really a hot take. I know the Jets are going to suck. That's not really much of a hot take.
I figured that was going to be part of it. I figured that was going to be part of it.
I don't know. I mean, I think Cleveland's going to win their division. I don't know if that's
I like that. I like that.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
I think actually, you know what? I will give you a hot take. I think the Texans are not going to win a game this year.
Texans 0-16? 0-17, that's right. Oof. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to disagree on the offer part. I think they will win a game or two, but that is all. I will say that the Texans will have the number 1 overall pick.
Well, wait, you know what? Let me take that back. The Texans do play the Jets 1 week this year, so maybe
there's an opening for one win.
Somebody has to win.
Hey, Saucer, urinating tree. Here's early nomination for a tank bowl, whenever that is, week 14 or whatever.
And if we want to go back in time and remember history, the Jets lost to the Cleveland Indians when Indians. Oh my God.
the Cleveland Browns when they you're talking about when the big losing streak got broken.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to do this to myself because I deserve it.
Well, they'll win. They'll win that game because they can't even tank right.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Wasn't that the game where they unlocked the beer coolers on the street after they won the game?
Yes.
It was.
All right, guys, running out of time. AFC. All right, here we go, guys. AFC Championship match, NFC Championship match, Super Bowl match. Who do you have and why?
Okay, NFC. I'm going to the championship game will be Packers versus Tampa Bay.
Rematch. You're going rematch.
Yes, rematch. AFC. I'm going to go with Did I? Yeah, I wrote it down. Did I say? Yeah, it's a Browns and
Browns
and
Chiefs.
Browns Chiefs. Yeah.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. Actually, I think Sports Illustrated went with that as an AFC title game.
Was that
But-
after the million generators they used to figure out what their results are going to be?
Yeah.
All right, so
the computer could only come up with shrug emoji.
so who's your Super Bowl matchup and who wins that one?
Super Bowl matchup is Chiefs Bucks rematch, but this time Chiefs take it.
Oh, I like that. All right, Nick, you're up.
I mean, I agree on the NFC Packers with Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be very aggressive, considering that his contract is now up the way he wanted it to be. So I think he's going to play really, really tough and really aggressively. I like that. And obviously, how do you go against TB12 and the Bucks? I mean,
When everybody's back.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 100 years old, but he still manages to lead that team to victory somehow.
Right, and again,
Somehow you get your ass kicked by 100-year-old. So
and again,
somehow-
every single player on that championship team is somehow returning.
Now, looking at the AFC, I like Cleveland. I like Buffalo. I like Buffalo too. I think that somehow they're going to, I don't know if they have the comeuppance to really come through and win all the way. I think they're going to win their division. I just don't think they're going to make it to the conference game. I like Cleveland, but I don't. Baker Mayfield is a giant wild card or question mark, whatever you want to call it.
I think
not what I
OBJ
thought you were
right
gonna
now is a
say.
bigger question mark than Baker. I think Baker's proven himself, to be honest.
No,
with you.
but I'm saying he has no weapons. So how does he prove himself with no weapons?
Nick Chubb can run all over the field. They got Kareem Hunt who can run all over the field.
Yeah, but if
and
you're going
they
to
still
stack,
have Odell Beckham.
but if you're going to stack the box the whole time, it's going to take the running away. We saw it happen with Saquon Barkley and the Giants, didn't we? They stacked the box.
Okay, but what's your pick for the AFC title game?
So, the Chiefs for sure, because I think Patrick Mahomes is going to come back with a vengeance for sure. Now, it's between Cleveland and Buffalo for me, for the other side. And you know what? I think I'm going to have to go against Cleveland and take Buffalo. I'm going to take Buffalo and Kansas City.
And who's your Super Bowl matchup and winner?
It's Kansas City, Tampa Bay, unfortunately, again. And I think TB repeats again.
All right. So I think we're all you guys know usually I go through every single game. You know, I have my whole thing that I do. This year I didn't get the opportunity to do that. I'll do it before the game on Thursday.
You'll post it.
Yeah, I'll post it, you know, but for my unofficial, top off my head predictions without looking at anybody's schedule or anything, I'm going to go agreement with you guys for the NFC title game. I'm going to go Packers versus Tampa Bay. AFC, I'm going to go in the direction that Nick Morgasen was going, but I'm going to actually, no, Nick Fodera, you said Cleveland would make it, and I'm going to agree with you. Cleveland and Kansas City. And like you guys, I'm going to go Kansas City versus Tampa Bay rematch. And this time, I think Kansas City is going to get it done. I think Kansas City gets its revenge. So I'm going to be in agreement with Nick Morgasen on the Super Bowl matchup. So I'm splitting with you guys. I'm agreeing with one of you in terms of the title games and one of you in terms of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I also picked the Chiefs.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
No,
the
you did
Chiefs
pick
to
the
win
Chiefs.
Super
He
Bowl, so
picked
you
the
really
Chiefs.
made-
I picked
Oh, so I'm agreeing with you, Nick. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
agreeing
agreeing with me.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. All right, very quickly, guys. Week 1, Bucks Cowboys. Who's taking it and why?
Do we really have to discuss this?
Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Bucks.
Bucks. And by the way, since we have a minute or so, Zach Martin, first player officially to test positive for COVID, will be out for Thursday's game.
Not like that's going to make a difference, but hey, you know what?
So
We'll see
I know
what
we only have a couple more minutes, but guys, very quickly, can I get your thoughts on whatever's going on with this Bishop Sycamore story?
I mean, this is the Fire Fest of school football.
So
All I'll say is this is insane, and the Netflix documentary that's going to be made a couple of years from now is going to be awesome.
I would
This
say it. I would say 30 for 30, but the fact is, I don't think ESPN wants to remind itself of the embarrassment it let a fake school onto national television.
This reminds me, and I watched this on Netflix. I mean, it's a little bit sports. The Lori Loughlin movie that they put out with all the college money that was going on behind the scenes. That kind of reminds me of this a little bit, where let's take a fake college team, which really is a bunch of high school prep or dropouts.
Junior college dropouts. You have a head coach who's on an arrest warrant.
Who is basically taking money from what we've heard, allegedly, supposedly.
Probably in the six figures or something like that.
And somehow ESPN fell for it. Really?
For those of you who are media, mogul, does this not remind you of the Stephen Glass situation?
I mean, if you've seen Schloss's video on it, it's pretty comprehensive, and he even did research on it that nobody else did.
Somebody commented, I don't think it was on Schloss's video, it was probably on like a Sports Illustrated post or something, that they looked at the website and could tell it was fake. How can you take a website, that could be set up by any of the three of us, and ESPN's like, oh, you're legit?
I mean, the Russian porn bots just means it's more legit. The one weird trick ads, maybe it is just one weird trick to get on TV.
Just be careful, because if you click those ads, you're going to end up with malware on your computer anyway.
It's a funny way to say STD, but still.
All right. Before we go, make sure to tune into the ETV Sports Minute Monday through Thursday and Saturday and Sunday on Facebook and Twitter. It always changes between one of us, talking about whatever sports topic is going on that day.
Yeah, so make sure we added that into the little repertoire so you get something in the mornings, as well as the clips after the show and a bunch of other stuff coming hopefully soon.
So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter at ETB Sports for all that. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram for all the clips of all these big episodes. Make sure you're following us across social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever at ETB Sports. Make sure to, once again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell, ring that bell to get all the videos. Follow us at ETB Sports and our personal Twitters. You can see scrolling across the bottom of your screen right there. And
hit the like button. Hit the like button.
Ring the bell.
Hit the subscribe button, please. So that is going to do it for this edition of Empty the Bench. For Nick Fodera and Nick Morgasen, I'm Tom Albano. Thank you for tuning in again, and we'll see you hopefully this next episode. We're back to our Saturday time slot, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.
By the way, I will say 6,000 reasons stopped me from being there yesterday, but we won't get into what that whole thing is.
But we'll be back, and you'll be there too. So until then, good night, everybody!
Good night!